Greetings from Capilano Suspension Bridge Park in North Vancouver, British Columbia. I am really excited to bring Are You Brave Enough today from this beautiful place. So we're going to do some stopping and starting so you can see different aspects of the park. But our theme today is, are you brave enough to face your fears and set your boundaries? So talking about facing your fears, I have a fear of heights, and right now I am on a suspension bridge. I'm going to give you a little view. There's a whole bunch of people and we're kind of bouncing around, and it's a little unnerving because we're kind of far above this creek here. But I will tell you a story once I get on solid ground again about facing your fears. So as a risk-taking coach, I am all about facing your fears and doing things anyway. And bouncing on a bridge is one of those things to do. But there's also setting boundaries. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So how beautiful is this view behind me? I'm going to pan out so that you can see it. It's gorgeous in it, isn't it? But if I didn't overcome my fear of heights in order to come out on this crazy bridge, which we'll show you again where that is, then I wouldn't be able to see this gorgeous view. Now, there are railings here, so it's not as bad. If there weren't railings, I'm not sure that I would be as excited about doing this, but it's really fun and it's really beautiful. All right, so now we've gone from the suspension bridge to the treetop bridges, and I'm now up above. I'm in another little walkway here, but there are plenty of railings. So what I've learned about my fear of heights is that I'm okay if there are railings, but if there are not railings, this is a big problem for me. A few years ago, we went on a hike, my husband and I, in Zion National Park, and we tried to go out on the famous Angel's Landing Trail. Did not work out so well for me. I kind of got out part of the way, no railings, 1,500-foot drop straight down, and I was not a happy camper. We did not go very far on that trail before I turned around and went back. And I realized that that's a boundary for me. Yes, I'm a big into facing your fears and overcoming them, but sometimes you have to know where boundaries are. Could I overcome that fear, that severe terror of that kind of trail? Probably, if I worked on it. But is it necessary? Not really. I'm not missing out on very many things. So I set a boundary around not going out on big heights with no railings. This, unfortunately enough, does not qualify for that. So I'm enjoying my time today. Look at this gorgeous tree walk behind me. You can see how we're moving around from treetop to treetop. Very cool. You should definitely come here if you ever come to Vancouver. There's a woman on this trail up here with us who is terrified, but I give her all the credit in the world because she's plowing through and facing her fears and enjoying the view. We're back down on the ground now, enjoying some of the temperate rainforest that exists north of Vancouver in British Columbia. It's very pretty and cool in here. One of the very cool things about this park is that the gorge was created from the power of erosion. And I'm gonna put in a still photo next to show you what exactly water erosion looks like. So let's take a look at this display from the Capilano Suspension Bridge Park that talks about erosion, because obviously that's how the cavern was created, that the suspension bridge spans. So what they do is they have some water dripping on granite. And obviously, if you can see the picture to the far right, you've got 15 years of erosion, and on the far left, you have 50 years of erosion. Now, this display is actually a perfect metaphor for what we're talking about today, because obviously water has no fear. Water's not afraid of granite, even though granite is one of the hardest surfaces on planet. It just drips on the granite and does its thing. So no fear. It faces its fears, so to speak. But what's really interesting about this is the boundaries piece of it. Because if you look at the 15 years of erosion, the surface is kind of flat.
right? But once you get to the 25 years of erosion, the water is already starting to carve a little channel in the granite. And then if you look at the 50 years of erosion, you can see that it's carved a pretty large channel for itself. In other words, it's created boundaries for itself. And by setting these boundaries, the water has created a way for it to concentrate its force and its power and make a bigger impact on the granite. At the beginning, it's not, because it's kind of dispersing. But as it focuses and creates that channel for itself, it actually allows it to use its full power. And that is what is so beautiful about facing fears and setting boundaries. Because when we face our fears, we can do these crazy things like carve granite. And when we focus our energy by setting boundaries, it makes our work that much more powerful.
So we'll finish up our tour of Capilano Suspension Bridge Park on the infamous cliff walk. So we're sort of hanging out over the cliff over the valley on this cantilevered section of walkway, which is really cool and really beautiful. And we have quite a number of our fellow travelers that are out here facing their fear of heights and enjoying the views. So thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Are You Brave Enough? Facing your fears and setting boundaries.
Loving this content? Are you brave enough to hit subscribe? I dare you to hit subscribe. Don't miss a single episode of Are You Brave Enough?